About as we get going here, just seeing this storm head off into the mountains. The rest of us, we might see a few more showers popping up along that cold front as it makes its way across the river valley. But for the most part, we've already seen those severe thunderstorm watches, not only for our area, but also off towards the east. They have been canceled, so not a lot of storms still left into the area. But taking a look what we're keeping an eye on, this mainly this storm that's moving just north of Clarksville, just moved through Batson. We've seen some hail associated with this system right now. This cell mainly just producing severe thunderstorm warns wind gusts. Right now, seeing some gusts upwards of 60 miles an hour at times. But we did see hail going all the way back into parts of Franklin County, even south of the river. We saw it start near Charleston, even into Sebastian County, south of Greenwood, south of Lavaca. We saw some of that hail kick up. And it wasn't a very big hail. We're probably looking at hail around 1.25 inches. So that $half size hail is that main concern as it tracked through parts of Sebastian County, then eventually into Franklin County, then just through Ozark, and then now it's off into more of the mountains as we get into Johnson County here. But taking a closer look what we're dealing with right now, maybe saw a bit of a spike in hail over Batson. Not much to worry about, though. That main threat, like I mentioned, is going to be some of the stronger winds as it continues to just track off towards the northeast, mainly as it eventually goes into maybe clipping parts of Madison County, but then as it goes more off towards the north. But taking a look, some of those areas that are still potentially in the line of this system as the storm continues to push off towards the northeast, maybe within the next 10 to 20 minutes, you might see it near Rosetta as it gets off towards the northeast. Nail as well, maybe within the next 25 to 30 minutes as you track out of Johnson County. You might see some of these this storm continue to push through the area. But not much to worry about right now as you take a look at the rest of the river valley, maybe tracking another round of just some light storms moving just west of Ozark, in between Mulberry and Ozark, north of Branch. And then we'll see this track through, again, the heart of Franklin County, moving more into the Boston Mountains. So not much to worry about once this tracks more off towards the north. A lot of people live in around the Arkansas River, as we know, but once you get more into the Boston Mountains, it becomes very rural very quickly. So these systems are moving pretty much in some unpopulated areas once they get past that I-40 corridor. So we're continuing to track those storms, taking a wider look at the river valley right now. Northwest Arkansas, you're clear. That cold front has pushed through pretty much all the way through Madison County at this point. You can see that cold front on the map. It's kind of cutting through Sebastian County. You see some of these pop-up storms. That is that last leading edge of the cold front slowly making its way through the area. A lot of the storms to the south are a little bit stronger once you get into parts of southeastern Oklahoma into northern Texas. For us, mainly just seeing the last bits of just popping up along that forcing of the cold front. Not much to worry about, though, as we get going here into the rest of the evening. This is likely the last of the severe thunderstorm warned storms that we'll see, not only for northwest Arkansas and the river valley, but pretty much for all of central Arkansas. We've seen all the way off towards the east, things have begun to get canceled, mainly just dealing with, at times, some of those flash flooding that you would associate with some of these storms. Taking a look at Ozark right now, this is where that storm kind of moved directly overhead. It got dark pretty quickly, but it was also timing with the sunset, so it was hard to see if they were seeing any hail or any of that rain right now. But it's looking mainly clear. We got those clouds out there right now, but I'm going to try to bring up again what our area-wide looks like so we can see kind of where that cold front is, what storms we're dealing with right now. All right, taking a look at that cold front. Still, like I mentioned, it's running through most of northwest Arkansas. Like I mentioned, Madison County is beginning to clear. When you see there's no clouds over northwest Arkansas, that means that dry air is already beginning to sink in. So we're really not going to have to worry about those storms. It's tracking south right around Fort Smith through LaFleur County. Sequoia, you're looking clear as well. You can see not a lot of cloud coverage there. You're looking at dry. You're not going to have to worry about storms. And even for a majority of, Crawford County getting to Sebastian County, you're not worried about storms. Maybe a few lingering showers for the Fort Smith area. But for the most part, the only severe area that we are worried about is tracking off towards the northeast. You're not going to have to worry about that as that moves out of Madison County. If you live in Paris and Waldron, maybe you can see some few showers potentially pop up in this area, but we're getting into the overnight now. It's almost 9 o'clock. Not a lot of energy to tap in still. So just taking a final look at what we're keeping an eye on as this continues to track slowly out of Johnson County. If you live in Batson, you're now all clear. You might want to keep an eye on this system that's just slowly intensifying near Ozark. Not a lot to worry about that. Likely not going to see that produce any hail because it's kind of following that same track that this storm's taken. A lot of that energy is probably wrapped up in this system. But we'll continue to keep an eye on this storm near Ozark as it tracks towards the northeast. But if you live in Batson, if you live in northern Johnson County, just going to keep an eye on this system. It's tracking mainly off towards the northeast. Main threat with this one, a little bit of hail. a little bit of some stronger winds. Those gusts were upwards around 60 miles an hour, and the hail core has not really picked up as it's moved so far into Johnson County. It was why it was severe warned when it was parts of Sebastian County, because we saw that hail around 1 inch, and it tracked into, you saw it near Branch, and then you got towards Ozark. You saw that inch, about 1.5 inches in terms of hail, 1.25 inches, the $half size hail. I don't think anything creeped up to the golf ball size hail, but that's what we were watching as it tracked through Franklin County. Then things died off in terms of the hail core, but it was strong enough to see those winds continue to track off towards the northeast, still strong enough for to see a severe thunderstorm warning. But like I mentioned, Batson, we saw a little bit more hail. Not much to worry about as we go into the rest of Johnson County. Let's take another look, see if there's any updates on if this warning's still going strong. Looks like we still have it until till 9:15. So it looks about 15 more minutes. But this system, as we can already see, is almost out of Johnson County. We're probably looking at, maybe 5 to 10 more minutes until it's likely going to be canceled for all of 5 countries. So Rosetta, there, you're on the trail end of, you're of the storm. You're kind of in that northern part of Johnson County. So you're looking Rosetta maybe by 9:08, 9:10, maybe, like I mentioned, next 10, maybe 15 minutes, we'll see the last of the storm. And this is the lower half of the storm. The hail and some of the stronger winds are more likely going to be a little bit farther towards the northwest of you in Rosetta. Garber, you're in that severe thunderstorm warning, or at least the northern part of Garber is. Again, most of it's tracking mainly to the north. Let's jump around here and see if we can pull up. Once you get towards Jasper, if you have any family or friends that live out in Jasper, they might see that storm move through in the area. We're still seeing some storms pop up here or there, but again, not a lot to worry about. A lot of that energy was earlier in the day when you really saw that cold front begin to push through parts of northwest Arkansas, and then you saw into the River Valley. That's when we saw a lot of those severe warning storms. Clarksville through Waldron to Boonville, where some of those areas that had the severe zones that we thought we were going to see storms, they just didn't have the energy to really begin to pop up. So let's just take another area-wide view where we're seeing, in general, not a lot of storms still lingering around. Let's take a closer look into the River Valley here. That's where we have all of our storms still left lingering around. So we have maybe a few storms popping up kind of near that Scott County, Logan County line heading towards Boonville. They're likely going to stay south of Boonville, maybe seeing a few storms pop up there. Like I mentioned, we're obviously keeping an eye on the severe warning system that is in northern Johnson County right now. But looking off towards the west, not a lot to worry about. Maybe a few pop-up showers right along that front. But as we move later on to the evening, not a lot of storms really have enough energy to pop up. So we'll continue to keep an eye on the storms as they move through. But for now, just know the severe thunderstorm warning moving mainly into the mountains. Not a lot to worry about, just some hail threat. But we'll keep an eye on the storms as we move throughout the rest of this evening.